Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a great day today. So we're going to be doing the clean girl makeup look that's been making its way all around YouTube. I have seen so many people do so many beautiful looks with this type of routine, but we're going to be doing the oily skin version. So we're going to be focusing on having a nice glow that's going to last all day without our skin getting too shiny with our excess oils. So the clean girl makeup look to me is kind of like a natural glam makeup look. It's definitely like a full-blown makeup routine. It's not really like a minimal makeup look or like a very quick makeup look. It is pretty much a full makeup routine, but you're focusing on like a clean, polished look. So that's what we're doing today, and I'm going to share with y'all a couple of new lipsticks that I got from Merit Beauty. So I hope that y'all like the look that we're doing today. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so my brows are already done. I did those the same way I always do them. So we're going to start off with our complexion. So as with any makeup routine, but especially one like this where you're like really focusing on skin, you really want to make sure that your skin is nice and prepped before you start applying makeup. That'll just help it last longer during the day. So I do already have my skincare on. So the first thing I'm going to do is what's called the powder underneath foundation technique. And I think this is a really good way to help prevent your skin from getting oily during the day if you have oily skin. So a lot of people would probably prefer a loose powder for this, and that's perfectly fine. But you guys know that I really love using pressed powder. So I'm going to start off with my NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop mattifying powder. I'm using this because for oily skin, this is really good at mattifying, but this is like a really soft, silky texture powder. So I'm going to start with a sponge, and I like doing this step with a dry sponge, but I like using one that's like really nice and squishy, like even before you wet it. So this is one of the EcoTools sponges. So I'm just picking up some of the powder on the sponge, and I'm going to focus this powder on the areas of my face where I get oily. So for most of us, that is our T-zone. So I'm going to just pat this on my nose, and I like to also bring it kind of like to on the sides of my nose. And then I'm also going to put some on my forehead, and you'll be able to see that right away. It's like really mattifying the skin. And then lately I've noticed that I really haven't been getting too oily on my chin area. So I'm not going to put any of the powder on the chin. So I look nice and mattified right in my T-zone, and that's going to really help prevent those oils from pushing through that powder. So next we're going to move on to foundation. So I'm going to be using like a really like radiant, like glowy foundation today. This is the Kosas Revealer foundation. I'm in shade 340. And because we have the powder like really nice and flat on the skin, our liquid foundation is going to lay nice and flat on top of it. So I have a pump on my brush here, and then I'm just going to start applying my foundation the normal way. I always like to start on my cheek area, and because I have a little bit of powder in the T-zone area, that powder has given me a little bit of coverage. So I'm not going to have to put too much of the foundation in those areas. I do want to put something there because I want that glow, but I'm just not going to have to put as much because I already have a little bit of coverage going on. And you see how nice and glowy this foundation is? It pretty much stays like that during the day, and then having that powder underneath it like right here, that'll just help prevent it from getting like overly oily. And again, when I'm putting the foundation on any area where I've already applied some of that powder, I'm just pretty much putting residual foundation there, just because my powder already gave me a little bit of coverage. So I'm having a few breakouts on this side of the face, so I'm actually going to go in with just a little bit more foundation to give myself a little bit more coverage over here, because this type of look is really supposed to be like really clean and polished, more like a flawless look but still natural. So I'm just going to give myself just a little bit more coverage right there. Okay, and this is what our face is looking like so far. So I'm going to move on to my concealer. I'm doing this the same way that I normally would. I'm starting off with a little bit of color correction with the Bobbi Brown corrector stick. This one is in the shade Deep Bisque, and I like blending this one out with my fingers, and I'm concentrating it right in the areas where I have the majority of my under eye darkness. And then I'm going right on top of that with my Anastasia concealer. This one is in the shade 15. So this is what I use for brightness and to add a little bit more coverage to my under eye area and also to the center of my face. I meant to do my chin and my forehead before my under eyes, but for some reason I forgot for today. That's just a force of habit to do this area first, but I don't know why I went out of order today. So I'm not going to do like a full eyeshadow look today. I'm just going to put on a little bit of bronzer. So I'm going to just put a little bit of this concealer on my eyelids too, just to kind of brighten up this area too and cover up some of that darkness. And then I'm gonna go in and set just the under eye area. So I'm using my Kosas powder and I'm putting some of this just on the immediate under eye area. I'm not setting the rest of my face just yet. And because I put some of that concealer on my eyelids, I'm gonna set that too, just because I do have oily eyelids. So before I set the rest of my face, I'm gonna go in with my blush, bronzer, and highlighter because I'm using all liquid and cream products for those because those look a lot more natural than powder products sometimes. So for my blush, I'm using the Rare Beauty Liquid Blush in Believe. This one is quite pigmented, so I'm gonna start off with a tiny bit. And then I may have to go up and build that up some, but I'm gonna start off with this amount. And some of these blushes come in dewy finishes and some of them come in matte finishes. The dewy ones are really nice. They're really easy to blend out. And this particular color I think is really pretty up against my skin tone. I'm gonna put just a little bit more on. I feel like I can barely see the blush. I hope I didn't just put on too much, but I can always tone it down if I need to. I usually do peaches and like corally colors for blushes. These types of colors, this is like a mauve color. This one is gonna naturally be more difficult to show up on my skin because it's very close to like my undertone, I think. So I guess that makes sense that I would need more for this particular color. And then for my bronzer, I'm using the Tower 28 cream bronzer. I really love this for glowy makeup looks because this one really stays in place after you blend it out, but it's so nice and like glowy, especially in sunlight. So I'm going to apply this the same way that I normally would, like any bronzer. So I'm just tapping it along my hairline. And this one has like a really nice, like kind of like a golden reddish color to it. And I love like reddish bronzers instead of like yellowy ones. But this one is just so nice and like glowy and like summery. I always like to put bronzer like right above my jawline just to kind of like enhance the natural contour that you have underneath that. So I'm just patting that along the jawline, and then I'm just switching to another brush just so I can also kind of add some dimension to my nose. I'm going to drag this all the way up to my brows. Then I'm picking up my foundation brush. I'm just going to pat right over it with the residual foundation just on the nose. I always like to soften it right back out just so that it's not too strong on the nose. And then I'm going to take some more of this same bronzer and I'm going to use some of this as an eye color. So I'm just going to concentrate this kind of like on the outer part of the lid. And I just want to give myself some dimension here. Then I'm just going to drag it into my crease area just a little bit. I'm actually going to pick up another setting powder. This is the L'Oreal True Match powder in the shade C6, and I'm going to use this to just lighten up the inner part of my lids. So I'm just taking just a little bit and I'm just patting it right along here. I'm using this powder as opposed to more of the Kosas one because this one does have a little bit more coverage even though I use it as a setting powder. But I just want to lighten up that inner part of my lid a little bit. And today I'm using liquid highlighter. So I usually don't use highlighter, but I'm going for a really nice like spring summery glow for today. So I'm going to be using the LYS liquid highlighter in the shade Genuine. No, is it called Aim High? Is that the name of the shade? It's called the Aim High liquid highlighter and this shade is called Genuine. It's like a rose gold shade. So I'm going to use my foundation brush for this. So I'm just going to squeeze out just a little bit on my foundation brush. And then I'm just going to, this is probably enough for both sides of my face, so I'm just gonna pat those on the side of my cheekbones and just go in and blend that out. And because I'm using my foundation brush, it has residual foundation on it, so that'll help for this to blend right into my skin. I'm also gonna put some down the center of the nose. Let's pick up a little bit more because we're going for a glow today. So let's pick up just a tiny bit more. And I'm gonna go down the center of my nose with this. I'm using my finger because I picked up too much. And then I'm just gonna hit like right above my brows. I'm just hitting the areas where sunlight will naturally hit my face. Okay, and before I go in and set everything, I'm just taking a look to make sure everything is nice and blended and everything is to my liking, and I think it is. So now that I have all of my liquids and creams on, now I'm gonna go ahead and set my face. So with oily skin, you definitely wanna set, especially if you're using a bunch of liquid and cream products, but you don't wanna apply too much powder so that you're not covering up too much of that glow. So I'm going back in with my Kosas powder. So I'm not gonna be using the NYX powder to set my face because this one does give a tad more coverage than this one, and this one definitely has a more mattifying finish. This one is really good for setting the face, but it doesn't really alter the finish of your makeup. So I'm just picking up some powder on a pretty dense brush, and I am gonna be using a little bit more powder than I typically would, just because I really want to make sure that my face is nice and set because I have on a good amount of creams and liquids. So I definitely want to make sure my face is set, but again, I don't want to cover up all of that glow that I just put on. So you see how when the light is hitting my face in different areas, when I move my face around, you can still see a good amount of glow even though we've set everything with a powder. I'm picking up the brush that I used to set my under eye, and I am going to put a tad bit more powder on my eyelids just because I did put some of that cream bronzer up there too. So again, I don't want to cover up the glow that's happening on my eyelid, but I want to make sure they're set because I do get oily right there as well. And then I'm going to finish off the complexion with some setting spray. So this is the Fenty Beauty Makeup Refreshing Spray. So this will just really help to melt the powders down into the skin. So I'm going to put on a good amount of this. This will actually help to add some glow to my face as well. So I'm going to put on a good amount of this. I'm using the Hank & Henry liquid liner for eyeliner, and I think this is my new favorite mascara. This is the Caliray Come Hell or High Water Tubing Mascara. I've been using this for a couple weeks now and I really like this. So I'll do these off camera and I'll be right back, and then we'll finish up with some lips. Okay, one more thing before we move on to the lips. I'm gonna add just a little bit of an inner corner highlight, so you can use a pressed highlighter or any type of shimmery eyeshadow for this. So I'm just gonna pick up this shade here. This is the Colourpop of Quartz eyeshadow palette, and I'm just going to add a very subtle inner corner highlight, and I mean really subtle because sometimes I end up going overboard when I do this. So I just wanted to add just a little bit of brightness to that inner corner. Okay, so now we're ready to finish off with the lips. So I'm going to be using one of these new lipsticks from Merit Beauty. So this is their new signature lip lightweight lipstick, and they sent me 2 of their shades to try out. So I'm going to show you guys some swatches. Okay, so these are the 2 shades that I have. So this one here is called La Avenue, and it's kind of like a brick red shade. And then this shade over here is called Fashion. It's more of like a pinky berry shade. And I've been using both of these off and on for the past couple of weeks, but I can't seem to put this shade down, La Avenue, which is surprising because I would have thought that the pinky shade would have been like more my speed, but I really like this shade, La Avenue. So I'm gonna go in with this one to finish off the look for today. So I think these lipsticks, they're really good for a look like this, one that's more so on the natural side, because it gives you a good amount of color on your lips, but it doesn't look like overly bold. And these are like really comfortable. They feel kind of like a I guess kind of like a lip balm, but they just have a lot of color in them. So I've been using this one like crazy since I got it. Okay guys, and here is my finished look for today, doing the clean girl makeup look. So I hope that y'all like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed the video today, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.